with Sun to Shine Astrology and Tarot, and welcome to part 2 of the week of the 25th through the 31st. And again, we have a pretty eventful day that deserved its own video, and the energy is very specific because Jupiter, which is in Capricorn, is in an exact quincunx with the North Node in Gemini. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about each one of those energies because a quincunx, to me, has always been a very tough energy. And the reason for that is because it's like a shove off a cliff. It's not a gentle nudge like opposition is, or a square like a challenge. It's a flat shove off the cliff. You're doing it right now, and the energy is very forceful. And usually when I feel a quincunx, that usually means you succumb to the energy. And so I really want to talk about just how we can manage energy like that when we're met with challenge and we're met with negative energy that is not so easy to manipulate, because that is what we're doing right now, is we're trying to find ways to stay positive in a very, very negative and somewhat suffocating time as far as in positivity. So Jupiter, which is in Capricorn, is in this exact quincunx with North Node in Gemini. Jupiter, the planet that rules expansion, it rules boundaries. It rules. It's usually super benefic. It's a wonderful planet full of lots of gifts, and that's where good luck lies. However, when it is in its detriment, when when it's pulled into negativity, it can expand a crack into a giant crevasse. It can be the rain that turns into a flood. It can be the gentle wind that turns into a tornado, because it expands whatever it touches, right? So imagine something that would be normally just kind of a normal disagreement. If Jupiter touches it, it expands into the entire issue being brought forth in whatever way that is necessary, right? So Jupiter, which is in Capricorn, is conjunct Saturn and conjunct Pluto. And this energy has to do with politics, government, laws, people who enforce the laws, and regulations and things that control us. It has to do with karma. And it has to do with a place that either destroys us or transforms our lives. That is a lot of power in that statement. With Jupiter expanding that, let's say if our rules and regulations were going in a really positive direction and they were opening us up to like some sort of humanitarian side, where we're making laws that expand and help humanity grow, that would be one thing, right? Because it's going to expand that. But it can also expand corruption and lies and secrets, and it can expand ways that they were manipulating the laws, the way that they were not upholding the laws. Karma could be stepping in and serving people a little piece of humble pie. And if I'm stumbling over my words, Mercury's in retrograde, and Mercury's my chart ruler, so that's all you gotta say about that. Plus, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up early for this video before work. So there is a beautiful energy that we can concentrate on, and that is Jupiter, which is in Capricorn, is in a sextile, a very tight one. It's only a few degrees off, with Neptune and Pisces. So if we could imagine a better place, If we could imagine, if we could restructure a law, right, that governs us in some way, to where humanitarian causes were the whole point. If it was our dream to have peace on earth, that could actually be attained in some degree. But you have to understand that with so many people having so many agendas and so much ego tied into this, it's not for the collective good, it's for the individual good. It's difficult to imagine a better place, but we can imagine, we can create, we can do something, we can have ideas right now that are revolutionary, absolutely revolutionary, that can save this planet, that could save, we could save ourselves. We could do things that create way better outcomes than we ever thought possible, that we ever even imagined was possible. We could dream that big, and we could actually manifest some really great potential from that, because Jupiter will expand that. And it will also expand your wildest dreams coming true, like things you just gave up hope on, right? Suddenly seem hopeful, suddenly seem possible. That's in this energy. First, you have to get out of ego. First, you have to really separate yourself from being self-oriented and thinking primarily of just what you want at that moment when you want it. And you have to think of the greater good. You have to look down the line, and you have to consider others. Because Jupiter, which is in Capricorn, is squaring off with the Moon in Aries, squaring off with Mercury, which is in Libra, which is in retrograde, and squaring off with Mars, which is in Aries, which is in retrograde. If you are still doing the same thing you've always done and thinking you're going to get away with it, and thinking that, and if it's self-oriented, and if it's for just to satisfy yourself, the same old tricks aren't going to work. This same old stuff isn't going to cut it now. What Jupiter is going to expand is the need for you to follow the rules, for you to think of others, for you to consider your partnerships, your bonds, and your unions, for you to think about what you say and how you say it, because words matter, words are weapons. For you to get out of your ego and stop being so self-focused, and for you to start looking at your partnerships, your bonds, your unions, and considering them in everything you do, because they matter. They matter, and you're starting to understand that every time you try to seem to focus on yourself and you do things just to satisfy an immediate want or need, you soon find out that it's not fulfilling. It's not really what you wanted. And, you can never get enough. You can never, ever feed that insatiable appetite. So a square is a challenge. It's a challenge to change all that. And with this beautiful conjunction quincunx between the North Node in Gemini, we can move into a new mindset. There's duplicity in it. So we have Jupiter, which is in Capricorn. It's traditional, conservative, and fixed, right? Stubborn, you have to be in control. In this exact quincunx with the North Node in Gemini, that means that there's duplicity to that. There's more to the story. There's a different way of looking at it. There's a fresh new perspective. Perhaps you need to adapt to what's going on. We need to make laws adapt to the world as it is today, and not the world as it was back in the 16, 17, 1800s, based on old religious belief systems, right? Those need to change. We need to take religion out of laws, and it needs to govern all people, because not all people believe in one type of religion anymore. Now that's uncomfortable, and it screws with tradition, and it messes with the way things have always been. But if you think about it, we are in this very it's very mutable. Our current world is like clay. We're molding it into something different. No matter how much we want things to stay the same, they will not ever stay the same. They will change. And with that change, there will be something that is more serving, more humane, more for the greater good, and the collective will come together instead of be divided. We have one half of the people that want to keep everything the same and absolutely don't want any change because they like the way things have always been done. We have the other half of the people that says, I want change. I've never liked the way that things have been done. And we have two very divided perspectives because this is the week before the election. You've got truly deeply a Republican and a Democratic side, a right and a left, a black and a white type of thinking. Neither one are right. They're both extremes. Somewhere in the middle is like where we're going to be. That's Libra energy, right? But you have to understand our energy is going to be sucked into a place where impulsivity lies, volatility lies, feeling vulnerable, feeling depleted because Mars is in Aries in retrograde, which means we're tired. We're tired, we're wore out, our stamina, our endurance, we're done. We want to check out. We are exhausted, right? This is the place where it's easy to feel threatened, easy to get defensive, easy to have arguments, easy to be aggressive. Because Jupiter expands and touches all that a little bit. It's where we figure out that we're actually fear-based when we're fighting and screaming and arguing and trying to manipulate others and trying to control others. That's fear. That's not strength. It's not strength to force somebody to do something. It may in the short term get you what you want, but in the long term, does overpowering others and forcing others really get you the result you want? Won't you just have to have that argument again the next time because they're doing their own thing and it's not embedded in them to want that change. So you're going to have another power and control struggle over and over and over again. Mostly in these having to do with this is a lot having to do with your relationships, your partnerships, your bonds, and your unions. It's all about ego when we're in these power and control clashes. That's not the wave of the future. The wave of the future is to bring everybody back together again, to be collaborative, to work together for the great of good, and then to be a collective mindset. Because as a collective, we have a much stronger voice to make change than we do an individual tiny little voice. But we are so busy thinking about ourselves that we don't understand that the whole point of all of this Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto conjunction in Capricorn was to get control over things that we've lost our way on. That we've been in the dark for too long. We stuck our heads in the sand and we pretended like the stuff didn't exist. And it does exist. And if we face it, we can envision a brighter, better future filled with resolutions and solutions instead of bickering and fighting and all this energy where everybody's just trying to impose their agendas onto other people. Whatever just happened to having a difference of opinion, that being okay? Why do we all have to think the same? I mean, why can't we have a society filled with gray, The color gray. Instead of a black or white thinker, why can't it be gray? Why can't we address a whole big gray world? Because gray exists. You know, it's not, religion made us a black and white thinker. Religion made us, if we followed these set of rules and regulations and guidelines, we went to heaven and we lived a blessed life. And if we didn't, we went to hell and we lived a horrible, tragic life and full of despair and sadness. And so fear was put into us to control us, to make us always do that list of things on that agenda. These things have been lurking around in our energy like little tiny demons, like spooky little demons lurking around in the dark corners, always having control over us. We have built a society and a country and a world based on fear. We haven't built a world based on empowerment of the individual. It's all based on fear, and it's all about money and control and ego. And unfortunately, karma's had enough of that. The divine has had enough of that. We're out of control. And so this is just putting us in a tight little control. You know what? Climate change, whether you believe in it or not, we keep abusing our planet. We keep abusing our resources. We will learn what's in control. It's just a matter of time. How far do we got to go? I mean, of course, as a world, as a human being, we've always got to be pushed to the point of pain before we seek pleasure, before we seek to do something about it. But that's super unfortunate that we're like that, because we have the map for success in front of us, but we would have to remove our egos and our agendas before we could sit down and rationally and logically take a look at solutions and empowering mindsets. So this conjunction is about that Gemini energy, the duplicity of it, looking at it from, oh my gosh, somebody else's perspective? What? It's not just all about your perspective? I was just watching a thing about how the Pope is now endorsing gay marriages, gay unions. What? That is Jupiter and Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, and Pluto in Capricorn. Acknowledging that those human beings, whether you believe in their lifestyles or not, deserve to have a family and to be happy. It's just interesting. And you can believe what you can believe. But understand that belief system will morph and change. It is inevitable. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. That is it for this video. I will be producing part 3 pretty soon. That will be the end of this week. And guys, that's a big one. That one is about the blue moon, full moon in Taurus. That is a hunter's moon. And these kind of moons only come around once every 18 to 19 years. So it'll be a special video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you guys again in the next video.